What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show here on Sherdog.com. And today I am looking ahead to the next offering from One Championship as the One Fight Night 9 Nong-O versus Haggerty card goes down from the Singapore Indoor Arena on the 21st of April, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Time over on the States. Obviously, in the US and Canada, it is on Amazon Prime, and in around the world, it's on YouTube and different places. I'll check out their website to see exactly where it's on. But I think it's a very interesting card here because obviously, I'm going to cover mostly the MMA fights today. Obviously, we an MMA website and all that, but there is a good bit of other stuff as well on this card, as there always is on the One Championship cards. And I was thinking about it because, look, the main event here, as I mentioned, is Nong-O versus Haggerty. And now, I know Muay Thai experts, I'm not going to give you a massive breakdown of that, but I will talk about it here in a second. But it's one of 4 Muay Thai fights on this card. And obviously, if anyone has watched One Championship and followed my coverage of it over the last 18 months or so here on Sherdog, I think, especially if maybe you haven't watched or have just taken up watching One Championship in the last while, I think having the Muay Thai in the cards, having a bit of grappling on the cards, having a bit of kickboxing on the cards is actually very welcome in the MMA landscape we have today. I've said it on this podcast before and on others, that to be a little bit different in MMA today is a great thing. And I think all promotions try to do a little bit. Obviously, PFL have their season, Bellator, when they go to different places, say they come here to Ireland, they come to Hawaii, it's always a little bit different. You kind of know where it is, whereas the UFC, you wouldn't know one card from the other, whether it's on in Texas or Singapore or Las Vegas. It's very hard to know because it's so kind of a homogenized, but that's not the case with One Championship, especially which I'm talking about here. And the Muay Thai being on the card and other sports being on the card with the mixed martial arts, it just feels a little bit different. And as someone who hasn't massively followed those scenes over the last few years or ever, I enjoy them. It's a little bit of, as I said, sometimes it's a little bit of a break. You're watching a 14-fight UFC card, and by the time you get to the 4th fight in, you're like, well, okay, we have another kind of middle-of-the-road MMA fight going on here. Whereas, in One Championship, you get a few fights in, and okay, there's a grappling match here, or there's a Muay Thai fight, or something like that, or a big showcase for one of their big Muay Thai fighters, and it's could be a big knockout or something like that, and it's just a little bit different. And I honestly, I was unsure about it at the start, but the more I watched, the more I enjoyed it. So I'm very, very interested. And obviously, as I said, no Muay Thai expert or anything here, but the main event is Nong-O versus Jonathan Haggerty. And if you look at their records in One Championship over the last while, they're absolutely, fantastic. I think it's around 10 wins in a row for Nong-O. Now, let me just count them up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. So 9 out of 10 since 9 in a row in One Championship, and one last back in 2014 then in Muay Thai. But what a record that is and since 2019 undefeated in the One Championship. Obviously, fought some of the top names that are there. And for Jonathan Haggerty, then he's only lost to one fighter, and that's Rodtang, who I think a lot of MMA fans know, but obviously the Muay Thai fans know very, very well. And going back watching their fights, I think Haggerty is one of these guys who loves to attack the body, and he does something in MMA which we don't really see in MMA that much, and that is kind of fight the long game, up the pace as they go, and which you see in a lot of Muay Thai and a lot of kickboxing as well. I've talked about that on especially the reviews I've done for One Championship before, and I think he's really, really good at that. Nong-O, on the other hand, then maybe is more of a lightning puncher with lots of knockouts on his record, and I think he'll turn into that fight. I don't think, I haven't seen a Haggerty fight after watching a few of them on the recent cards, but watching back as well, looking for today, that wasn't him answering the call of his opponent, if you get me. Right? I think he is a guy who will go full leather if his opponent goes full leather, and Nong-O is the exact same. So it's it's a fight. I don't think that will be two lads looking at each other. Let's put it that way. I think they're going to go all out here, and it's going to be very fun. And obviously, that is the one featherweight championship on the line there, which is great because you have, you know, every card almost there is a belt on the line, and there's something very, very meaningful on the line. So that is that's the headliner from here. Obviously, it'd be a massive thing for Haggerty for the you know, this side of the world. Obviously, he's coming from the UK over the water here from me. It'd be absolutely massive, I think, for you know, the opportunities people are getting, but also, you know, to say you can get to that level and reach that level if he was to win, and you know, for Nong-O as well, and for one championship, it's great that they put these fights together. Like, speaking to people who really, you know, follow the scene better than me, they're so happy with one championship are doing because they're putting the best against the best all the time. And you know, we know in combat sports that's not always seen, whether it's MMA, whether it's kickboxing or boxing, whatever it might be. But yeah, they've done a very good job of that, and they continue to do that here. The other Muay Thai fights on the card, Asatin Pao is fighting Hanzi Hao. Denice Puric, who, you know, was on a recent card as well, an absolute beast. He's fighting Jacob Smith from the UK, and then Philip Lobo is fighting Sepach Fairtex as well on the opener here at 145 pounds. So, you know, interesting stuff there. You 345 pound Muay Thai fights on that. So looking forward to seeing them. So let's get into MMA. Let's talk about some of the MMA here, because there are you know, some very, very enjoyable fights proposed here happening. Let's talk first about Halil Amir against Maurice Abevi. Halil Amir, you know, I've spoken about him before on one of these preview shows, and going back watching these fights, like, he's a very strong wrestler. He loves that Dagestani handcuff, loves the ground and pound, just absolutely hauls people around. You know, he's one of these guys, he catches you, and when he takes you down, you stay taken down, you know. But you see him strike, and then first of all, right, you watch some of his fights, you may watch one of his fights and you'll see him and you'll see that wrestling, and then you watch another one of his fights and you're like, oh, hold on, this guy is a striker. And he really can switch between them. Very, very good. And you know, you would probably maybe say he's not even better as a striker. Lovely leg kicks, southpaw, lovely left hand on him, and he throws knees as well. Very, very good, you know. And he's one of those guys, like, who's 8-0 now, fighting 6-0 Maurice, and it's going to be a step up for one of the two of these after this fight. I think he beat Timothy Natsukin last time out, finished him in the second round in his debut. But he had been, you know, in he had a couple of fights in UAE Warriors before that. Fought some good people with winning records, which is, you know, not always the case and on the way up, but he definitely did. And I'm interested to see him here because Maurice Abevi, coming out of Switzerland, is a very good fighter as well. You know, he is one of these guys who's also fought guys, you know, with winning records. His last three opponents, 5-0, 5-0, 4-1, and you know, he himself is only 6 fights into his career, so that's a very good level to be fighting at. Having watched some of his fights, the one thing I would say, the most noticeable thing about him is how unbelievably good he is defensively. Like, his defensive movement is really spectacular, head and footwork. But the one thing about it is it drains his energy, and I suppose how could it not? If anyone, you know, there's a few of his fights on YouTube. The way he moves his head so well, the way he almost invites pressure. Now, he fought lads who put a lot of pressure on him. Will Halil Amir be the exact same? I think we'll wait and see on that one. I'd be interested to see how that actually works out. But he is so good early that he drains his energy by doing it, but he also makes you drain your energy, because, like, you hear fighters saying all the time, like, the worst thing you can do is throw a shot at 100% and it not to land. That's the most energy draining thing of all time. But when he does get tired, he does tend to eat a few shots. But that's maybe more on the negative side of it later in the fight. Early in the fight, as I said, wild with his strikes, loves the flying knees, loves his turning kicks, his wheel kicks. Brilliant in combinations, just throws in combinations so well, so comfortable for someone so young in his career. He's very, very fast. And you know what he has as well? He has a takedown. He won one fight by calf slicer, I believe, as well, watching that fight today. So he's good on the ground. So this is a really, really, really interesting fight. You look at Maurice and think maybe, you know, the size of him is going to be an advantage in this one. Now, I don't think, because, you know, this is going to be his first outing in one championship, I don't think we have the exact height or reach or anything like that for him all the time. So it'll be interesting to see when that comes out. But he looks to me to be a little bit bigger than Halil, and he uses that very well in his previous fights that I was able to find for him, you know, with those calf kicks, with the kicks from range, like. But so the one point, in, you know, to actually look at the fight itself and how I think it will necessarily go, do you know what? One thing I'm very interested to see when the betting odds come out in this, because you would say that Halil Amir is the more known quantity, right, having fought at this level before and done very, very well at this level. So I think he'll probably be favourite. But Maurice is, I definitely would not write him off at all. And if he comes out here and he's a plus 300 or 400 favourite, he could very well be one of the bets in the betting show this week. So look out for that. It'll be out in the next day or two after this. What I would say is, I spoke about Maurice and I spoke about his defensive ability, but you see a lot of that defensive ability because people pressure him so much. Now, will Halil Amir pressure him? And when I say pressure him, will he pressure him with strikes? I don't know. When you're that good of a wrestler, when you can wrestle that way, now, to call Halil Amir just a wrestler, and I'm definitely not doing that, but he can wrestle. I just wonder. I wonder, he initially he will strike, I think, with anyone, but I wonder if he sees what Maurice has coming back for him and he sees the defensive ability, if he'll quickly turn around and try to wrestle him. Like, Maurice likes to wrestle people as well when they kind of make a lot of mistakes on the feet or when they maybe overthrow, and that overthrowing, when he makes people miss and makes people miss and makes people miss, it's usually on the third miss that he throws in maybe a takedown and takes you down himself. So I wonder, will Halil maybe go for that takedown first and just take away all of that? Like, take away Maurice's brilliant ability to counter, his brilliant defensive work, and his ability to wrestle as well once you've made those mistakes, or made those misses more so than mistakes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because we haven't really seen Maurice at this level before, and I'm just very interested to see how it translates. I'm interested to see, let's say Halil Amir comes out and he's fighting maybe a more like a not necessarily an outside game, but he's jabbing a bit, taking it slow in the first round, trying to suss him out. I wonder what Maurice does. Like, when he does go on the front foot, he does throw those flying knees, he does throw those wheel kicks, but a lot of time, like, it's very rare to see him on the front foot because he's seen as, I feel like, by his opponents, and maybe I'm wrong here, but it feels like all his opponents feel he's a superior striker, so they want to put him under pressure, so we very rarely see it. I don't think Halil Amir will give him that much respect in terms of putting their both abilities together. I think Halil will probably stand up for his own ability. So if he does that, and if he just tries to have like a technical striking matchup with him, I think that'll be absolutely brilliant. I think that will be fantastic. I hope that happens. Now, will it happen? I don't know. I'm interested to see as well if Maurice can stop a takedown. Can he get one of his own? You know, if Halil stops a takedown, can he get one of his own? Interested. Like, if I'm to give a pick here, and you know, I don't like giving my picks, to be honest, especially for fights like this. And bear with me as well, because this pick might be different to the betting pick because of the price, but I'd probably go with Halil. As I said, just more of a known quantity. I think that wrestling might play a part, and I think he will be smart enough to switch things up if Maurice maybe gives him a few problems on the feet, which, you know, I'm not sure if he will or not. But that, to me, if you don't really know much about the two of them, great fight. Very, very good fight to look forward to. Let's talk next about Hiroba Minowa against Bokang Masunyane. I'm always great at pronouncing names, as everyone knows. Minowa, his last fight, he fought in one championship. He looked. Do you know what he looks like? He looks so loose on the outside. You're just thinking, what's going to come from this guy? He sprints, like literally sprints around on the outside. His fights, though, tend to turn into jiu-jitsu matches. Easy for me to say. And that's for two reasons. Because one is he loves a takedown. And he sprints in from that outside. Now, he sprints on the outside, like, away from people just to, like, keep the fight on the outside. But then he sprints in for the takedown as well. So it tends to turn into a jiu-jitsu match there. I'll explain more in a second. But it also tends to turn into a jiu-jitsu match because the only way for people to catch him maybe is to catch his legs and try to take him down. So his fights usually do end up in on the ground. Now, they turn into a jiu-jitsu matchup because this is... 115 pounds. These are the smaller guys, and a lot of the guys now are so well conditioned. It's very, very hard. I say 115 pounds. It's 125 pounds, but it's the strawweight division, so bear with me on that one. But yeah, they're very hard to kind of to hold down or to get in one position. Now, he is actually really good at pulling his opponents into jiu-jitsu matches. Really good at it. So he's very good on top, always looks for the takedown, but on the bottom, he can kind of be held down too. Now, will Masunyane be trying to do that? I am not massively sure, to be honest. I do think he will come out and try to strike. He's very fast. He hits hard. He's a beautiful head kick knockout. If you look him up, that's One Championship, have that up on YouTube. Transitions very well, lovely switch stancer, seems very strong as well for the division, and that has been an issue for Minowa before. If you look at his fight, obviously against Jared Brooks, look, everyone has an issue there, and even his fight with Alex Silva, it was a split decision, but I think the strength advantage, I watched that this morning, that was the big thing there. Like, his only loss in One Championship is to Jared Brooks, and for Bokang, his only loss in One Championship or anywhere is to Jared Brooks as well. So that's the level we're talking about here, and I'd be very interested to see the winner of this and where they go, because the winner of this really could be back into that talk Jared's talking about going up. He's talking about fighting Demetrius and doing different things. Not exactly 100% sure what's going on next with Jared, but I suppose we will find out on that one pretty soon, hopefully, because he is the king at that division. He's doing so well there. But on this fight itself, if I was to give my pick here, I'm probably going for Minowa, just on his ability to wrestle, and I'm not sure if Masunyane has as good of an ability to wrestle now. And the other side of it as well, I think Minowa is so hard to catch. Is Masunyane going to be able to catch him with one of those big head kicks, one of those big shots, which he has caught other people with? Not so sure on that one. So I'll go for Minowa on that fight. Then we go over to the women, and Denice Zamboanga, whose name I always pronounce so well, against Julie Mezabarba. Denice is a very talented fighter. She's willing to throw. She's a nice jab, vicious combos, throws fast and hard. She loves to dip under for a takedown. She's very good in the wild exchanges. She looks for subs, good on the ground. She's aggressive as well when fighting. She's good at fighting aggressively, but when she fights against aggression, she's very good as well. And sometimes, I remember a couple of her fights, she just comes out and she just wrestles immediately. Julie, on the other hand, she's a slower, I think more thoughtful fighter, if you want to put it that way. And not necessarily more thoughtful than Denice, but that's her style, I think. Watching a few of her older fights and watching a newer fight, I feel like she's developed into a way more technical fighter. She's not, I don't think, as like physically talented as Denice, but she's steady, well-rounded. She changes it up at times and puts her opponents into the clinch where she looks strong. She's, as I said, she's developed a better, more technical game, and she's a nice high kick and lands it a lot of the times. Look, in this one, you'd have to favour Denice, just at the level she's fought at. She's 9-2 now. Julie 9-4 and 1. her only losses recently have been to Sohyam. Beating Lin Hei Quinn, who I'm a massive fan of, was a massive win in her last fight late last year. So she's back in here. She's beaten Mei Yamauchi as well. So, she has fought at that level and she's right up there towards the top of that division. Whereas Julie, she has fought some good people as well. She fought obviously Stamp, but lost that. She fought Ulsim last time out, lost that. Okay, she has a win over Mei Yamauchi as well, so she should be here. But I do think this is a fight for Denice, and I do think she will win that one. Fight I'm very excited about then, Izzy Fitikefu against Valmir de Silva. Fitikefu, he had a chance with the UFC. I think he even weighed in as a backup fighter for one of their fights. Unfortunately didn't get that there, but is now in one championship and doing good things over there. He loves to come forward with strikes and looks for wrestling. He's a former rugby player, very solid rugby player build, small and strong and squat. I don't know if he's a proper one, but he's that kind of look at him, very, very strong. I've watched a good bit of him before, and I've been impressed. You see some of these guys, and sometimes the results don't go for them, or the career doesn't go kind of the way maybe they're hoping, but you always kind of think in the back of your head, like maybe at 7-1 now something will turn. He'll get a good few fights in a row and he'll be able to take it to the next level. Obviously he lost last time out against Ruslan Imelbek, but that was a big step up in terms of the ability of the guys he was fighting. He came in at 7-0 to that one, and that was his one championship debut. I say he's doing well in one championship. He's only had one fight and lost it, but you know what I mean. It was a split decision. It was a close one, and for Imelbek, who's one of the top fighters in that division, I think there was no shame in that one. Valmir de Silva then, as I said, 9-2. He's only lost in one championship, coming straight in against Sebastian Kadestam, who's again one of the best fighters in one championship. Had only lost one of 8 fights before that and came back and won championship last time out. Won by guillotine in the second round against Teho Jin. Watching him, was very impressed. The first thing you look at Valmir de Silva and you just think athlete. He's just such a great athlete, moves a lot, great cardio, great variation, loves that left hook, switches stances, kicks well. Everything just looks technical. He's good on top, but he is... and it's funny, another one of those guys where you see him on top and you're thinking, oh, this guy could be a good wrestler, but he's definitely a striker. He's definitely a strike number one type of guy, and he's very, very good at it. And I'd just be interested to see if Fitikefu, if he will strike with him, if he's forced to strike with him, if he wants to strike with him, because I'm thinking here this is going to be Fitikefu wanting to wrestle and De Silva wanting to stand, but De Silva's not an easy guy to take down. He's a very good clinch game against the cage, very good takedown defense. He gets that underhook very well, turns out very, very well, very strong as well. Fitikefu is very strong. Who's the stronger out of the two of them? It's hard to tell. You'd probably favour Fitikefu if it's like a straight wrestling match or if it's a straight grappling match, but this is mixed martial arts, so it's maybe not necessarily grappling, but maybe wrestling, because De Silva is good on the ground, as I said, won recently by a submission as well. So if I have to give the pick on that one, I'm going for De Silva. I like him a lot. I like Fitikefu as well, and as I said, he definitely has the ability to make a run and to have a good career. But I think Valmir de Silva could be something special. Just watch this space with him. I think it's a very, very interesting fight. Arguably the top MMA fighter on this card though is Meng, who is a top quality fighter. Watched a good few of her fights now over the last while, and watched them live as well as preparing for them. She's 20-6 now, so been around for a long time. Made her debut all the way back in 2013 or so, against Zhang Weili, I believe, in both of their debuts, and won that fight. Is that the same Zhang Weili now, or maybe no, it is the same Zhang Weili. Yeah, so she's a win over one of the greatest fighters of all time. Fought Lin Hei Quinn as well way back in the day, and he's on a run at the moment where. Okay, she lost a couple of fights in the middle of it to Tiffany Teu and Ritu Fogat, but the wins she's had, against Janelle Olsen, just absolutely destroyed her. I think in like 24 seconds or something like that. Was very impressive. And when you have a win like that, I don't think you're too far away from getting back into title contention. And you know, her ability is so good. So like her outside inside leg kicks, she's very patient when she needs to be, and then she'll knock you out in 24 seconds when she needs to as well. But people are so slow to strike with her, and when they are, she just kind of picks them off from the outside. But if you attack her, she will attack you. You know, she builds into the fight, throws a hard right hand, lovely double jab with that kind of curled right hand, very good defensively, hard to beat, good wrestling and grappling too. Now, sometimes she comes out there and she just decides, I'm going to wrestle and grapple, you know, but I think her wrestling is very good up until a point, and I think her opponent, Diane Cardoso, is very similar as well. I'll get to that in a second, but against Mingbo, I think there's two things you have to do, right? You have to be brave, but you can't be too brave. You know, and that's a weird thing to say, because if you just allow her to kind of pick you off from the outside, she will. If you come in too fast against her, she will land and knock you out. So you have to pick your poison here sometimes. Very hard, as I said, to wrestle against, but sometimes you're maybe better off letting her wrestle you, try to win the transition and get on top. Maybe that's the way, you know, maybe that's the way sometimes against Mingbo. If you hit harder than her, okay, but not many people do hit harder than her. Now, Diane Cardoso might be one of those people. She's a very, very hard sequence of right hands. She can hit very hard. Now, I was able to find two fights of her. One was obviously her one championship fight against Ayaka Miura last time out, most of which was on the ground. Ended up kind of with a standing TKO with an injury, and then I saw one of her other fights. I saw one round of it, which was taped on someone's phone watching a TV. So I haven't seen a lot of her, but from what I have seen, it looks like she hits very, very, very hard. In that Miura fight, she got a knockdown very early in it, and that's, I think, exactly almost what you need to do against Mingbo. Her biggest issue is she does get hit in those sort of exchanges. And if you do that against Mingbo, you're in big trouble. So, as I said, be brave, but not too brave. She has to land her shots, but you can't take too many back. She's good takedown defense, which is very good against Mingbo, because she will try to take you down if needs be. Okay, grappling too. As I said, like Meng, up until a point. She can take you down. She can do well when grappling, but then it gets like minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes in, and it feels like not necessarily the panic comes in, but that, you know, the lack of it, especially for Cardoso, the lack of high level experience for a long time kind of shows. And I think Meng kind of just like wants to fight. You know, she wants to get up and she wants to do, and she wants to be in charge. And when she isn't, I think everyone is like that, but it kind of goes against her. Cardoso, as I said, she does get caught in exchanges. Again, very nice high kick. There's a lot of fighters on this card with very nice high kicks. So there's my prediction for the weekend, a knockout with a high kick from someone. But yeah, definitely going for Mingbo on that one. I think she is a better all-around fighter, but as I said, that right hand of Diane Cardoso, don't sleep on that, because it could play a big factor here. And the last MMA fight on the card is Mark Sangiao fighting out of Team Lakai and those red shorts against Matias Farinelli. First of all, on Farinelli, I suppose, watched a bit of him on another promotion outside of One Championship. There isn't a ton of footage on him either, but he's a good wrestler, good BJJ, tight jab, but not the best striker in the world, I would say. Not, you know, I spoke about someone earlier on and said they were a great athlete. I don't think he is the greatest athlete in the world, but once he does get you down, you know, he can submit you. He's a good few submissions in his record, and I think that's what he'd be looking to do here against Sangiao. As I said, Mark is out of Team Lakai, and you know what you're going to get when you're out of Team Lakai. You're going to get a fast, confident striker, and a fast, confident person who can fight in all areas, not just a striker. But I love his turning side kicks, his wheel kicks, and his ability as well to try and kind of turn those kicks into wrestling. His ground and pound is absolutely relentless. He tries to get you out of there very, very quickly. And my opinion is here that I think he will get Farinelli out of here very, very quickly. It's interesting to see, though. It's kind of, I suppose, a step up in levels for both of them. Mark getting a step up in grappling levels, and Farinelli just getting a step up in all levels, I suppose, of MMA against a higher level fighter than he's ever fought before. So you never know. I watch prospects all the time. You never know how they're going to react or how they're going to rise to it until they're actually put in there and we see. But yeah, I'm definitely going for Mark to win that one. So yeah, that's it for my preview for this card. Some very interesting MMA fights on it. And obviously we have the Muay Thai headliner and 3 other Muay Thai fights on the card as well. So I will leave it there. My name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com, and I'll see you all next time.